Hello and welcome back to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker. Well, someone gave me the video where Damon Dash was being interviewed by the Breakfast Club. I thought it was funny and sad at the same time. It was hard for me to decipher a little bit, but I'm going to try my best to break this down. All right. So, yes, me and Damon Dash, same age, from the same place. Did I agree with everything he said about Harlem? Not necessarily. But then again, I'm a female and not a man, so maybe that's the difference. Anyway, let's backtrack also and look at the properties that he had owned. At one time, he did own a property in Los Angeles, but he sold it for $3.6 million back in 2007. He did have 2 lofts in Tribeca, that's downtown New York City, that he lost to foreclosure. Now, I looked at another interview, and the person said he never owned those properties. But the thing is, if he never owned it, why wasn't he evicted? Why was the properties foreclosed on? So that part, that was another discrepancy that didn't make any sense to me, but okay. Oh, well, I'm going to move on. Now, I have to say this. I'm not sure if those properties were in his name or in his company's name. If you know, drop it down in the comments section. I did have the address for the New York properties, but because the lofts are like apartments, I didn't have the apartment number, so I couldn't look it up to see which one was his at whatever time. So that's why I wasn't able to verify it. But if you know the apartment number, again, drop it down in the comments. And then also, he did have properties in London. Some reports say he sold it. Other reports say that he lost it. That's neither here nor there. That is the past. Currently, in this situation now, he has a Florida mansion. And that mansion is what he refers to as his family office. He bought that back in 2022 for $1.9 million. All right, so let's break down what is family office. Okay, when he mentions family office, what it is that typically it's a private wealth management operation that sort of governs your LLCs, and it's normally inside of a trust. I believe he does have a trust. This is normally set up for high net worth families. They normally do things like this. This is not something that the everyday person needs to do, especially if you're not an entrepreneur. This is not something that you have to set up. But then again, I'm not an accountant or a financial advisor, so please speak to one to verify what I'm saying. Okay? Now, moving forward, Dash mentioned that he has to pay back $30 million. That's what he's in debt for, about $25-30 million. And he says he has no assets except for whatever is in his family office due to liens placed on his personal accounts. All right. And according to him, it's only $4,350 that he has to his name. He has no house, no car, and the only electronics he has is his cell phone. That is what he states. Okay, and that is why he is filing for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Now, let's look at what does Chapter 7 bankruptcy do. It a person's non-exempt assets are pretty much liquidated to pay creditors. However, some assets are considered exempt and cannot be taken. All right. Now, here's the situation that he may face. I'm not a lawyer nor a judge. Let me preface to say this. We don't know which way this is going to go. But in the past, court documents related to his bankruptcy and other legal troubles that he has been into indicate that there is a pattern where he actually will transfer his assets into another entity. All right. Because in one particular lawsuit outside of the bankruptcy, he was accused of fraudulently conveying assets from his company Poppington LLC into another entity called the Dash Group. And that Dash Group is actually under his wife's name and not his name. Okay, so that's why for me personally, I believe and I know that there are some people out there that they will only keep a certain amount in their personal name and put everything else in their business name. And sometimes they have more than one business as well. And it sounds as though Damon Dash is one of those people that fall in that group that I am familiar with. Okay. Now, let's look at the general overview of assets that are typically exempt from a Chapter 7 bankruptcy when it comes to real estate, all right? So there's the homestead exemption. This exemption protects a certain amount of equity in a person's primary residence. This amount is going to vary from state to state. Some states have an unlimited homestead exemption, while others have very low limits. The next one is your household items and personal property. Household items such as clothing, furniture, appliances, books, and family photos. Being that he's a celebrity, those things are going to be worth more than, let's say, the average person who has these same things. Or even some other rich person who isn't famous. His are going to be worth more. All right. Then there's tools of the trade. These are items, equipments, books that you need in order to perform your job. Right. Then there's retirement accounts. Now, I don't recall if he's ever mentioned having like a 401k or an IRA, but I'm pretty sure he does. But anyway, the creditors would not be able to touch that. All right. Any benefits? It seems as though maybe he would be under disability since he had his mouth done, and I know I've seen him with an eye patch. Those disability payments, if he's getting any, those would be exempt. Insurance, particularly life insurance or disability insurance, whatever benefits he's getting in that area, if he has it, those would be exempt from the bankruptcy proceedings. And then many states also have something called wildcard exemption. This can be applied to any property of your choice, allowing you to protect the assets that don't fit into other categories, such as your bank account or another valuable item. Now, it is very important to remember that these exemptions, particularly the real estate ones, apply to the equity in the asset and not the full value of the asset. Okay, so let's say there is a house worth $1 million, right? Such as like the Florida house was worth a little over $1 million, but let's just say it's $1 million. But he owes, let's say, $800,000 on the loan. The equity would be $200,000. So that's That's what it is. All right, that amount is what would be exempt. All right. Now, Florida bankruptcy exemptions are very generous. Okay. And yes, they do have a homestead exemption there. But we need to really try to understand a little bit more. Let me try and break it down a little bit more, how Florida homestead is applied. All right. First of all, there's an acreage limit. The property cannot be larger than half an acre in any city or town. All right. The property cannot be, for example, I believe it's something like 160 acres if it's located outside of a municipality. There is a residency requirement, and I believe he does live in Florida right now. I don't believe he probably has a New York City property, but it might not be under his name. It may be under his kid's name or his wife's name or his former wife or former girlfriend's name. It may be something like that. It may even be in his business name. But I believe his primary residence right now is Florida and not New York, even though most of that money that he owes is in New York and New Jersey taxes. He doesn't have the New Jersey house anymore either, by the way. I forgot to mention that. And the other thing that we do know is he definitely owned that property for more than 40 months because there is a residency requirement when it comes to the Florida exemption, homestead exemption. Okay. Personal property, Florida law only pretty much exempts up to $1,000 in personal property. All right. And it's $2,000 if married, filing jointly. So I don't know if he files jointly with his wife or not. He probably does. So it's that alone is going to be like probably $2,000. Okay. Now in Florida, yes, you can claim a wild card exemption, and that would be up to $4,000 though. Okay. And this can be applied to any asset that he chooses, which could be his bank account. It can't be the car because he says he doesn't have a car. But yes, it can be applied to the bank account. As far as his wages are concerned, that part is iffy. I'm pretty sure he would be considered the head of his household. I'm not sure how he files his taxes now. You probably want to visit the Pocket Watcher, JT. And I believe he also did a video that broke it down. But depending on how he filed, whether he was head of household or whatever, Florida law protects 100% of the wages up to $750 per week. Now, in case he's not the head of the household, he can exempt a portion of his wages. Okay, and these wages also would apply to the bank account and what have you. So guys, that is pretty much it. That is my breakdown of it all. As far as, is he lying? Is he telling the truth? It could be both at the same time. It really could. It really could be both at the same time. Like, is he broke? Many people say, yeah, he's broke. He personally might be broke, but his business might be profitable. Even though he said in the court documents, for many of them, he says, no, the business is not making money. And then There were several other businesses where he claimed that he didn't know whether or not they were making money. I'm a little suspicious of that because, yeah, he owns more than one business. Okay. But if you don't know how much money your business is making, you can always go and look online at your bank account, or you can always pick up the phone and call your accountant, and they can look up the paperwork for you and let you know. So I'm not really buying the whole, I don't know, off the top of, just like that. Maybe at the time when he was filling out the paperwork, maybe he didn't know. Maybe that's what it is. And he didn't have the time to look it up. But I'm thinking a person like him with his money, he probably would have a lawyer. And the lawyer, this sounds a little funny to me. But guys, drop down in the comments and let me know what you think. Let me know whether or not you think he's really broke or not. And at the end of that, please feel free to share this amongst your friends. Remember, each one reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.